Hey my crafty friends, how are you this evening? Thought I'd come on and show you how to make a quick slimline card that you could use for any occasion. This file is from Melody Lane, and but they're all over Pinterest, so you can go on there, get the measurements, and make it your own. I cut this out on my maker, my Cricut maker, and I decided to use the wavy blade for the edge. I love all the different blades, so if you're not familiar, Cricut has these housings, and you can get, I think there's about 8 or 9 blades, and this is the wavy blade, and you just tell your machine to cut where, instead of cut, do wave, and it cuts the perimeter or wherever your cut line is in a wave. So that's what I did with this one. So this card's going to open up here on the top, and it's going to be layered. This is going to be my bottom layer. I did not wave that, but I did wave the next layer up. Thought that would be really cute and show. The other thing I did was decide to cut my sentiment out of vinyl. I love using vinyl on cards. So let's get started here and get this weeded. It's really fun. You do have to be careful doing vinyl on paper because you don't want the transfer sheet to stick to your paper. So I use a transfer sheet that's kind of old and that I've used a lot. It's kind of hard to weed. There you go. Black is difficult to see. I use an older transfer sheet, and it's not as sticky, but it does fine unless I'm transferring a glitter font. This is with Cricut Premium Vinyl, so I did not have to mirror it because it's going on the paper just like you read it. It's just black, shiny premium vinyl. And obviously, I'm not very good at talking and working at the same time. My brain. There we go. So I want to make sure I leave the dots for the eyes. Giant K. Oops, I missed a dot over here. I knew there were 2 of them. There we go. Alright, so I need to go in and get a few of these little pieces out to make sure it's weeded so you can read the words. And I'm just using, this is a Cricut tool, and it has a little tiny hook on it, and it helps you weed. It kind of grabs. And I just stick the pieces I pull off onto the big part that I just pulled off, and then it's all right there in one place. Everybody kind of has their own way of weeding. Some people absolutely love it. Some people hate it. I love using vinyl on cards and in my paper crafting, so I do it quite a bit. All right, so I decided to do a thinking of you card. And here's my old, it's a piece of transparent contact paper from Dollar Tree. And I kind of center it over here and lay it down. And at this point, you want to rub really well and get your contact paper adhered. But when we go to put it on the paper, we won't be quite as aggressive. Turn it over, peel from the back, go slow, make sure everything is sticking. The flatter you keep the backing, usually the easier and better it peels off. Awesome. And not just a little bit of schmutz from my table. Okay. So this is the piece I'm going to put the sentiment on. So I use the grid on my pad and figure out where my center is. So right here is my center. I give this a little crease to know where my center is on it. And you can put it at a slant or you can make it straight. And then since it's paper under there, I do it gently. I lay it down gently. And then I just use the back of my Cricut weeding tool to kind of go over the letters a little bit. Nothing too hard. Hopefully this will work. And I won't have to redo it. Again, as flat as you can to pull it off. Awesomeness. Then I use my brayer, which I love, and I roll it over it just to make sure it's adhered nicely. And there you go. There's the sentiment. So now we're going to glue it on here. And most of you know I use art glitter glue. If you're lucky enough to have a local craft store that stocks it, that's awesome. If not, you can get it from maymaymadeit.com. It does not ship during the wintertime because it cannot freeze. But see, I've got time to manipulate this and make sure it's centered. And again, I can use my brayer to make sure I have good contact. So when I cut out my vinyl, one of the things I do is I've got different, it's all the same cutting point in here, but I mark one for vinyl, one for paper, and one for glitter. And like glitter especially is really hard on your cutting tools because it's plastic adhered to paper. So it's like my mother would have killed me if I used her cutting sewing scissors for paper. So you want to treat your knives for your Cricut the same way. So I saved up till I could afford the extra housings, and then when the blades were on sale, I bought them. So I have a glitter one, I have a paper one that's usually the one that's in my machine, and I have a vinyl one. So I cut the vinyl out with the vinyl one, and it makes your blades last longer. You don't have to replace them. Now my paper one, because I do a lot of paper crafts, I do end up replacing that a little more often than somebody who doesn't craft all the time. Again, we're centering this with a nice black border all the way around. Make sure you're adhered nicely all the way. And then I made, because this is black, it would be so difficult to write on, I did cut a piece again with the wavy, and see how nice that looks against the black. Just a little extra touch. And I use cardstock, either Cricut cardstock or cardstock from 12 by 12, cardstock.shop, and it has a smooth and it has a textured side. If I'm going to write on it, I typically put the smooth side up. Otherwise, I like the textured side. But this is where you would write a message. So I'm going to, and with art glitter glue, less is more with your gluing. Again, try and get it centered nicely. Make sure you have a nice crease up here. And look. So I also made an envelope. And because it's black, you're going to have to use either white pen or a label. Again, this card will fit in your standard business size envelope. So if you've got that in the house, and don't want to mess with making an envelope, then go right ahead and use that. This is a really quick, easy card. It can be for a man or a woman, depending on what papers you use. And then I always fold it up and kind of see where I need to go with my glue. If you have trouble with your sticking, you might put a piece of wax paper inside. And then that would catch any drips or anything that might go in there and keep it from laying flat and accepting the card when you put it in there. Again, you always want to take your bone folder, mush that glue around and get it into the fibers. And there you go. Now, I either use score tape to close this, or if I think it's a card that somebody might want to keep, I will use the hook and loop dots on here. The white pen that I use is this one. Got it from my local craft store, and it's a Uniball Signo, and it's great. It writes, let me see if I can find a black piece of scrap over here. It writes really pretty. So you could definitely use that to write and do your addressing if you want to on the cover here. That's tonight's little class. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate all the kind words and the encouragement I've been getting, and I will see you in a couple of days. In the meantime, have fun crafting. This is Terry Marcus with the Yaya Collection.